Another opportunity via Zoom on TheInformer to catch up with an emeritus professor from La Trobe University. His name is Dr. Joseph Camilleri. Professor, how are you?
I'm well. How are you, George?
Yeah, I'm reminded that we are still living in the lucky country. When you look around the world and understand just how many people are suffering during this pandemic, we do have an excellent hospital system. When things are run properly and we're not making mistakes, we are in probably the best place in the world. Let's not forget that. But these are trying times, are they not?
Oh, they're very trying times. And we have had many previous examples of epidemics and pandemics, not quite on this scale, but even over the last 30 years. And I regret to say we're going to have more of them in years to come. And that's why preparation and planning ahead is so crucial. And I think we have to admit that the world as a whole, Australia included, was caught relatively unprepared. Very few countries had anything approaching a worked out emergency plan to deal with the pandemic.
I hear what you're saying, but remember that we do have access to television coverage from around the world instantly. Why didn't we get to grasp the enormity of the challenge when Italy was consumed by the pandemic, then Spain, France, Britain, America? It's not as if it happened simultaneously. We were this outpost down under. And if it wasn't for the international carriers, the airlines bringing passengers from infected Europe, infected America, we wouldn't have known about this except for the television coverage. Why didn't they start thinking then? Now we've got to prepare our borders, we've got to prepare for the eventualities that we will have coronavirus down under.
I think that's true of, the answer to that is true of most countries. There was no fully worked out plan. You see, one of the responses, for example, in Australia's case, was how to coordinate state and federal jurisdiction. Well, that was done on the run. There are certain things that are not within the competence of the federal authorities. There are many others that aren't within the competence of the states.
Professor, can we expand on that? Because there are people who think that the responsibilities are the federal government's, because that's the government of the country. Can we just expand on just these blurry lines that have created so many problems?
Well, yes. One of the important factors is travel and transportation between states, responsibility for health and education. So yes, you'd like to standardize, but there are different circumstances in each state. Some tend to have, of course, been affected more by others. So the response in some places would need to be stricter, more severe lockdown than in others. Now, to do all this, you have the six states, the 2 territories, you have the federal authorities, and you have also an important role for local government. So that's very complex. In addition to that, there's the international dimension. How is a vaccine going to be developed? Whose responsibility for overall distribution once it becomes available? Who sets the tone? So on all of this, it's been done on the run. And I don't wish to be in any way unduly pessimistic, but I'm wondering when this particular pandemic, COVID-19, is behind us, whether we would be a lot better prepared for the next one, because, George, unfortunately, there will be a next one, and it may be sooner than we would wish.
We're talking to Professor Joseph Camilleri from La Trobe University. Professor, can I just ask you to continue that line of thinking? Is this then the right time to hit the reset button? And as you say, make sure that we have a plan that will not last us just for this occurrence, but for the next one as well, and maybe start looking at how Australia will deal with some of these inequities and also some of these challenges, is this a good time maybe to look at how government works at federal level, at state level? I mean, much of the community still is confused by who does what and who belongs to what, and we hear it almost in our daily discourse. The commentary, whether it's on social media and even in mainstream media, they're blaming the federal government, they're blaming the state government, they're blaming local government, when at the end of the day, this may well be the ideal time to look and chart a brand new course. Am I being unfair or unreasonable?
No. It may well be that we will need to reflect even more intensely once we've got over the hump. We're sure we've got over the hump and there is no third flare-up on the way. Then we should concentrate the minds. But I think on this question that you've raised, how do we prepare for the future? It's something which all of us in the community must get hold of. We can't leave it to prime ministers and state premiers to think it through. Of course, they have a contribution to make, but there is lots of highly intelligent people in our community. Journalists, doctors, lawyers, professionals of all kinds, of course, teachers, educators. They should all be trying to grapple with the complex issues because it is health, it is governance, it is transport, it is travel, it is so many different things that need to be thought about. And let me add one thing we haven't said much about. There is an international dimension. What this crisis has told us is how poorly prepared we were, not just nationally in many countries, but internationally. And the one organization that we have that's supposed to deal with global public health, the World Health Organization, has a budget to deliver global public health, which is quite a bit smaller than the Victorian health budget. How can you do that?
That's incredible.
We wanted to go here, there, and everywhere. We wanted to look at the situation in Brazil and come up with answers. We wanted to go to Mexico and then talk about sensibly the situation in the US. But who's going to do this? Where is the personnel? We wanted to coordinate vaccine research and delivery in due course. But how are they going to do that? So it's not enough to be critical of the WHO. We have to really think how we're going to strengthen it substantially in the years to come. And Australia, like every other country, will have an important role to play in that.
Professor, just listening to you take us through what we need to address has opened my eyes to some of the challenges we've already faced. Can I just thank you for your time? And can I invite you to join us again a little bit later in the year, maybe to review just how well some of us are doing, and more importantly, how many people are listening to what has been said and taking it on board.
It would be my pleasure.
Thank you, Professor. Emeritus Professor from La Trobe University, Professor Joseph Camilleri.